Welcome to the Genius Hour, where we converse with the community to find out the stories behind Indianapolis' remarkable people and the opportunities they took to get there. I'm Annie, and I'll be your host for today.
All right. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Hey, this is Coach Edge here with the Genius Hour, Voices of Indianapolis. And normally our students host this show, but currently this is my final project for the tie-in project, the Teacher Industry Experiences in Indiana. And so I wanted to have a conversation with Ryan Murray, who's our project leader on this.
Yeah.
I'd like to call you my boss, but it's like I don't think you'd like that very much.
No.
And so I wanted to start off by just asking about your work with the CIESC and the tie-in project, and just kind of how you've been involved with the tie-in project since the inception, I think.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So CIESC is the Central Indiana Educational Service Center. We provide services for pretty much all of Central Indiana's school districts outside of a couple, meaning professional learning or cooperative purchasing, whatever our school districts need. They sign up as a member, and then they receive discounted services. Tie-in specifically came from a partnership with the Department of Education that had some funds left for really a project that was going to combine education and industry and provide opportunities for teachers to learn about what's happening in industry. And they came to us and said, hey, we have this.
What year was this?
This was, like April of last year.
Oh,
okay. It came about very quickly.
I must have heard about it right when it started.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah. So it came out. They came to us and said, "Hey, we need this to happen. Can you make this happen? And by the way, you have about like 2 months to get it started."
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah. That's right.
It was very last minute, but we were happy to take on the challenge. And Lena Darnay, my supervisor at the time, came to me and said, "Hey, we've got this thing. Let's make it happen." And we did. And so tie-in had spun up pretty quickly. Had 3 options, and trying to provide a variety of pathways for teachers to take to learn about what's happening in industry and what their students are getting ready for.
That's awesome. You were a STEM teacher. You started off 4th and 5th grade, I think.
5th and 6th, yeah.
At what point did you start to transition beyond the classroom?
So I was a STEM teacher. Sometimes I did math in certain schools and districts, and then switched to teaching science and math within the STEM way of thinking, where it's not we do science now, we do math now, but combining it all together. And then after COVID, needed to see what else was out there. I didn't want to leave education. I love education. But just at that point, we're just looking for something new.
Okay.
And went to IU Indy, actually, was my first stop on a grant project.
As a senior teacher engagement specialist?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
So,
which seems like it's immediately out of the classroom, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was a grant project focused on STEM identities and underrepresented populations. So worked with Brookside down here, IPS, just down the street, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
And a couple other IPS schools that was, we were working with teachers on how do we draw out STEM identities out of your students, right? How do we identify what that means for populations that don't typically see themselves in that role? It was wonderful. Worked with an amazing team there, and but as grants do, money ran out.
Yeah.
And went looking for something else. That's how I ended up at CIESC, but was able to continue that STEM work, and been really, really happy to do that.
Is that some advice that you have for transitioning teachers or anybody? Is this idea of trying to chase these special projects and grants? Because I think it seems to me underutilized, because normally you're like, I'm going to go be a teacher and be in the same classroom for 20 years.
Yeah.
Is that a field that you recommend, saying I'm going to look into doing some grant projects?
Yeah, there's, education's a funny thing where the money, I feel like, is kind of kept in certain places, right? That it's not always like for everybody, but It is something that, for the teachers or educators, and I say educators because, teachers can sometimes be a little limiting, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So educators can find opportunities for financing through their county foundation. I know there's a lot of county foundations that have support available for educators to do innovative things. It does take some time and it does take some effort, but it's out there for sure.
How much with the tie-in program? How you had to curate all those experiences, right? How often were you reaching out to companies, and how often were companies reaching out to you? Because that was about 16 months, a year of organizing those?
Yeah, so we had, it was over the course of, about 18 months or so that we executed all of the events. And
you pulled it off, too.
Thank you.
That was amazing. Wow.
Yeah, it was, so there was really a team, and I definitely need to acknowledge that. So Jessica Martin was really critical in handling a lot of the logistical pieces as far as, payments and attendance and those kind of things. So she had a huge role. My job was really identifying the employers that were going to host events of any sort, and then orchestrating the day and, making sure that the speakers were aligned with what we were hoping to accomplish, making sure the activities made sense. So that was a lot of my job. And, I think we executed maybe, I would guess, probably close to 40 events over that time.
All over Indiana, too. That's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And, when we did events up in like Fort Wayne or down south, we sometimes would orchestrate that with our partner service centers. So
cool.
CIESC is one of 9 service centers throughout the state.
Okay.
So we would sometimes, for those really far away ones, say, hey, do you want to host this and handle the logistics side of things? And that worked really well. But anything central, I would go up to Fair Oaks Farms and down to Muscatatuck and everywhere in between. But it was great. It was a lot of work, but it was a big payoff.
What was your favorite opportunity? Because you didn't go on all of them.
I didn't go on all of them.
You probably went on a large portion.
Yeah,
of them.
I would say about 75% of them I was there.
Favorite experience?
Oh, man, that's a great question. And I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Some of my favorites were MISO. Which,
that was like the last one,
yeah,
right?
That was one of our, it may have been our last one, yeah. That one was really great.
MISO handles the power grid for like 9 states in the Midwest, I think. And, man, that was a really cool opportunity. And they're doing internships for freshmen in college, too, and building them up. And I really appreciated that.
Yeah, they were great. And, it's in another one that was really good, or 2 more that were really good for that same reason, were Gaylor Electric and then Endress and Hauser. And really, all 3 of them were good for the same reason: is that they get it. Like they understand that if they're going to get good talent, they have to invest in the talent before they're there, right? Like a lot of employers, they're getting new hires and they're saying, "Oh, they're missing these skills," and they're kids these days, and they shake their cane, right? But if you're not investing in the kids and in the community, what do you expect?
Yeah.
Right? Like it has to be time and effort put into what they're hoping to receive by the time that they have, these new hires. You have to have a stake in that. Yeah, so they're just trailblazers in that respect of identifying and growing the talent locally. And so that was reflected then in those events. They knew how to highlight that work they were doing.
Yeah, it seems like one of the things that we're talking about in education is that the workforce might have a limited set of skills. They're slowly losing some skills, and if we don't train these students properly and make sure that they have all these soft and hard skills, all these technical skills, the talent pool is going to dry up, and all these companies like MISO and the other 2 that you mentioned, they're going to get a lot of the top talent because they're recruiting early. So I see it as a warning sign almost for all the other companies that they need to start getting involved in scouting some of this talent at a young age.
Yeah, that's true. And I was recently at an event talking about education industry, and I pointed out that a lot of the employers that we talked to said we can train them on the technical skills. right? We can spend the time getting them on board with whatever platforms we use and all of those more technical pieces. But the soft skills, like you mentioned, are what they don't have the time to do. And that's really in competition with what we're doing in school, right?
Yeah,
A lot of what we do in school is focused on technical skills. It's what we assess on. We don't assess on the soft skills. So it's a gap that we need to figure out for sure.
You saying maybe we need to start giving report cards for patients and things like that? Because sometimes I've worked in some schools that do on the report card, they do have the soft skills on there too.
And it's a growing trend. I mean, I think the school my boys go to, that's being introduced this year is having some report on those pieces, and that's great at an individual school district level. But until that becomes systemic, I don't know what kind of impact it'll have.
You brought your son to the fever one, right? And that was a good experience for him. Was there one of the opportunities that you said, I got to go home and tell my son about this?
Oh gosh, there were plenty, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because he's going into high school, or is he?
No,
in high school?
he's big enough to look like he's going into high school. No, he's in 5th grade.
He needs to be a running back.
Yeah.
Apparently, the guy's big.
He is. Yeah, he's a big kid. My younger son wishes he had a little bit of that because he's a little guy. But yeah, he's still got time, but he is definitely thinking. He has a technical mind. Math and science is very much of interest to him. So, like MISO already mentioned, but gosh, he's also a sports guy. That's why he came to that one.
Yeah.
That's his interest. But what was really good about, so that was the fever event with the Indiana Fever that my son came to, and he does the announcements for his school, or has been.
That's cool.
Yeah, so he's been on camera. They do a really great job at cycling. So he was on camera, he was behind the camera, he was writing the scripts, like they just take rotations.
Yeah, we try and do that here.
Yeah, so what was great, though, at the Fever event was for him to be able to see that collision of his two interests, right? So we were back in the room where they had all the screens and they had all the audio equipment.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh my gosh, it's sports and television together. Like he wants nothing more than to be behind one of those control panels.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, if he wants to come work for a wrestling company, he can do exactly that for us if he wants to.
Yeah, he would love that. He would love that.
Yeah, I thought about that when I went to the pro bowling event that the PBA comes to. Woodland, I think, every year now, and watching the skills, watching them doing their live television show right in front of you. So looking at him saying, like, if that guy gets up and leaves, I can take his spot and I can do his job and I'll get on the headset. And I'm like, who is this guy on here?
That's awesome.
And some of my students, like, apparently Nat could do that as well.
Right.
So
apparently,
if somebody has a medical issue and Nat needs to jump in and do audio on a broadcast at a Fever game or something, she could probably do it. I wanted to talk about WTHR too, because that was my first opportunity.
Yeah.
And that was a really cool experience to go sit in on the pitch meeting, which is now what we try and do here. Because I started a newspaper, did like a digital newsletter with the kids, and I was inspired by their roundtable where they go, oh, what stories are you working on, right? And so we're trying to do that here. What was that experience like for you? So
WTHR was great. We actually did 3 events there. So the one that you went to, I think, was the 3rd. But
just because so many people kept signing up.
Yeah, it was just a real popular one that people wanted to see. It's something that everybody knows, and they want to see how the sausage is made, right? And, we're all familiar with the end product. So that pitch meeting is super cool, though, where all the reporters say, here are the stories I'm working on. Here's what's being talked about. They had somebody from social media say, here are the links that people are clicking on. And that is a really interesting perspective to bring to students, too, to say, there are all these stories, but you're only hearing the ones that people agreed to tell you, and how the news is shaped. And, those are the things that we don't realize is happening. And that's important to pass along to our students. So that was a good one. And the other great thing about WTHR is that they, because of what they do, have to stay on the cutting edge of the world, really, right?
Yeah, they talked about that too, right?
Yeah, so the conversation about AI and deep fakes and and misinformation. All that was really interesting and really pertinent to everything that teachers are dealing with right now too.
It also sounds like they have to be very based in the community too, and
Mm-hmm.
and know where to get those stories and know those sources, because anything you see online might not be true anymore. So I think that also involves a lot of community involvement.
Yeah.
I also like their ethics. They talked about,
Yeah.
you know, hey, if we break a story and 6 months later it turns out that that person didn't do that crime, we do have to re-report that we messed up, or, you know, I forget how they said it. I have it in my notes about how they have to keep up with certain stories and make sure that, you know, they just tell the complete story.
Right.
And I thought that was really important because it was a good lesson in ethics for students.
Yeah, and those news channels carry a great degree of power, right? And
Yeah.
you know, they taught NBC or WTHR talked about how it's really like a two-man race for news in Central Indiana, and that's not many, right? Like that gives you a whole lot of power in shaping the story.
Yeah.
So it was good to hear about how they are, you know, focused on ethics, like you said.
Do you find yourself trying to read WTHR and look at the articles more than other news stations?
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, I honestly anymore I stay away from the news because it's just I don't know, it's tough. But but yeah, when I do, I try and bounce around as much as I can and see what's out there.
Yeah, just because I know the people now.
Right. No, that's
anytime
true.
I see a link or, you know, I search something up in Google about
Yeah.
like, oh, what is this festival going on in Indianapolis? And I see WTHR, I always click on that one first. So
well, and then when
thanks to them.
we occasionally have the news on TV, and I'd be like, oh, I met her, I met him. You know, that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
I stood right there.
It looked like a fun job. I pictured like an Aaron Sorkin script,
Right.
like somewhere
Yeah.
between the newsroom and the West Wing. And
Yeah.
apparently you have to get up at like 2:00 in the morning though if you're
Yeah.
going to do the 8-9 o'clock news. That's a bummer.
And it sounded like you don't get to pick your vacation days very much. They kind of get told to you based on,
Yeah.
you know, when the news breaks.
How did you connect with Visit Indy?
So Visit Indy, and I'm glad you brought that one up. So that was
That was a powerful one.
Good. Yeah. Our events, we actually worked with Employee Indy.
Okay.
On a few events. So Visit Indy was one that Employee Indy helped put together. They were a great partner.
That's cool.
And they did, I want to say, 6-7 events probably. And
Who's Employee Indy affiliated with? Is that because one of the hard things, like,
Yeah.
When I say tie-in,
Right.
I also have to say the Central Indiana Education Service
Yeah.
Center. There's so many different acronyms around
I
the
know.
city that you're like, well, who owns what and
Right.
who's
So, yeah, that's a great. There are so many people doing.
yeah. And apparently Visit Indy runs all of them, I think.
Well, yeah, Visit Indy does a lot of the hospitality and tourism, but Employee Indy is really a workforce board or workforce group that is connecting or doing a lot of what we really are hoping for in that they're connecting educators, and their focus is really on connecting students with internships and work-based learning.
Yeah.
And identifying employers that are interested, because it's tough. It's tough figuring out who wants to take on that piece of the job and who doesn't have the time or the energy for it. So they do a lot of that work, and it fit in really well with tie-in. We do a lot of work at CIESC with Employee Indy, and they've been a great partner. So they set up that Visit Indy one. They did one at the airport.
I wanted to go to that one.
Yeah, that one they ran twice, and several others. So they were really a great partner in making that happen. Visit Indy, I went the first time, and that was a really interesting piece, because you're right, they do have hands kind of in everything around Central Indiana, Central Indianapolis, but really also great opportunities for students to get involved right out of high school. I mean, I thought they talked about all of the different union-based jobs.
Yeah, absolutely.
That definitely take some training, but are options for our students that pay really well.
Yeah. It also, I have some students who are just at this point where they're trying to network and gain connections, and volunteering with Visit Indy is a great way to start meeting people, especially when at the convention center. And hey, I'm going to go volunteer at conventions and just go meet people.
Yeah.
There's, You'll never meet so many people that you will at the convention
Right.
center.
You know, the interesting thing about the volunteering too, we heard that at a lot of places. So the zoo, the Children's Museum, Pacers, Fever, like the sports things, they all talked about if we see somebody has volunteered or interned or just done work with us, right? Like those are the people we go to first. You know, they talked about a lot about how you could be the most qualified person, but if you've never experienced a job in that sphere, they're going to have a tough time.
Interesting.
Even talking. So that would be something, you know, I would really recommend to teachers is encourage your students to do the volunteer work, do the, you know, whatever it is that just gets you in that space with those people. You know, it may not be glamorous right out of the gate, but it'll pay off down the road.
I find that if you're a therapy dog handler, it's very glamorous.
Yeah.
Like that's my volunteering is me and the wife we do therapy dog work with Pause and Think.
Okay.
And we were at IndyVolve, were you at IndyVolve? Man, IndyVolve was at the State Museum this year, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
And there were so many awesome organizations there, and I go every year, but Pause and Think was there, and everybody had to come by and pet the dogs. And,
absolutely.
And I mean, I'm not a celebrity, but the dog is, right? In fact, most people don't even know my name. They know me as Ollie's owner. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's Ollie and his adults, his humans.
I love therapy. I wish my dog could be a therapy dog, but he's too much of an idiot. It wouldn't work.
Oh, man. You can train him. Our dog could do all sorts of tricks.
That's true.
Yeah, but that was a great opportunity. And then I noticed just what you said, right, is that volunteering just helps get you connected with everybody in the city. There's a lot of people, and that's why I started this podcast, is there's so many people doing outstanding work in Indianapolis, and if you don't know about them, you don't get to meet a whole lot of heroes. You know?
Yeah, there is. And, you know, we need to, I think, as a community, do a better job at celebrating the good work and the good people that are out there. You know, like I said, I don't watch the news because of what it's filled with. You know, if the news was all like, here's all the great things and the great people and the great work they're doing, I'd be like, yeah, let's watch the heck out of the news, right?
Have you met Samson Livingston?
No.
Samson's one of my heroes. He does the walk and talk indies where if you've ever seen a giant group of people just walking down Indiana Avenue or Irvington, he knows the history of the city.
Oh, wow.
And he will bring up, like he has maps, and one of the things he says is every map is the same and shows you all these different maps and how they correlate. And then he just takes you around and shows you the history of the city. And
that's awesome.
if we could have done a project with him, that would have been amazing.
No kidding.
He just gave the opening speech when John Green received an award for his book, Tuberculosis is Everything and Everything's Tuberculosis. I think IU gave him an award, and he was like, I want Samson to come speak, and it was really cool.
That is cool.
I was shocked with Visit Indy with how many people's story was that they were trying to do something else and they couldn't find their calling, and then they fell into the hospitality industry. Yeah. And I think I wonder, because I have so many kids who say that they don't know what they want to do, that if they like talking to people, if they like chit-chat and just being around people, they might need to go see Visit Indy and get into some hospitality.
Yeah, you know, that's something that we heard, almost every stop.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was, this isn't what I set out to do, or my degree is in this, and now I do something different. Because for educators, and I've said this to our groups, but our role as teachers takes us from the classroom as a student to the classroom as a teacher.
Yeah.
And then we typically stay in that role, right?
Our whole lives.
Our whole lives. And that's not how most of the world works.
Yeah.
Most of the world works in these very curvy ways. The educator road is typically very straight. And most of everyone else's roads are curvy. They've got potholes. They've got dead ends and all these things, and they go all over the place. And so when we talk to our students about, careers, it's in that straight road mentality of, if you want to do this, there's these clear stops along the way, and then you just go down that road forever.
Yeah.
And that's not real. That's not how it's going to go for them. Unless they're going to be like, a lawyer or any of those stereotypical jobs that do have that long road and teacher, and maybe I'm even wrong there, but preparing students for that curvy road with the dead ends and the potholes is critically important, because that's how that's how it's going to go most likely.
I think about, and what's interesting about what you said too is with doctors and lawyers, the on-ramp is such a long time.
Yeah, you're right.
You can't go to medical school and spend all that money and then say, I've decided I'm going to go do something else. Well, you're $500,000 in debt.
Right.
You
No.
get to do one thing.
Yeah, you're locked in. No, that's true. That's true. Teachers, luckily we don't have that huge debt, but we also don't have the payoff at the end of the road either.
No, we don't. Man, that's wild. And
Yeah.
it's attrition.
Right.
You got to stay in your classroom for a long, long time.
Yeah.
What was you said you were giving talks? You said that you were asked to speak somewhere. With Visit Indy, they had a lot of panels all day, and I think every place we did had some panels to some extent. When you're asked, have you been on some panels?
Different conferences and done different presentations.
What's the lesson that you try and impart at all these places? What's your talking point that you try and share with the world?
Yeah. A lot of it kind of echoes what I've already said, and to kind of bring it all together, it's we have to bridge this gap between education and industry. There's I think it grows farther apart. I think the two entities keep moving in opposite directions. Against what they're trying to do. I think there's a lot of people that like the industries I mentioned. I think that there has to be more intentionality behind how we are connecting education and industry. We can't just send our students to internships or work-based learning and say, good, we did it, they're ready.
Yeah.
But, we have to, like the tie-in program has done, get our educators invested in what is happening in industry. And then conversely, bring industry back down to see what's happening in education. There's two groups that are yelling about what the other one is doing, but they're not coming together to say, how do we fix it?
Yeah.
Right? So that's what I'm hoping for. I'm really cautiously optimistic about the diploma changes.
Yeah.
In maybe bringing some of that together. I think it's going to force some of those conversations to happen. But that's what I would really love. I was at a event last week, and they said, if you had unlimited budget and no barriers, what would you do? And I said, man, I would just dismantle the whole system.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Really?
I really would, because it's archaic, right? Like the way we do this, and I think what you guys do here is somewhat countercultural in your approach, and I love it.
Thank you.
But for the most part, our K-12 system is kind of archaic, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
It's a system that has been around for forever and has not adapted to changes in industry, has not adapted to what we know about learning, and there's a lot of work to do. It's going to take some real bravery to get it started, because you're talking about a cultural system that needs a lot of help.
But we find at our school there's a lot of things that we're building, and when we need resources, we find, according to some of the people in our organization, we're just a couple years ahead of the game. And so when we look around for resources, we notice they have not been built yet.
Right.
And so we have to kind of build them at a small level and say, here's a proof of concept. Here's what we could do. Now go give it to a 500 kid school instead of just these poor 25 pioneers that are in our school.
Yeah. It's, having talked with these two ladies over here, I think, I'm excited about what's ahead. I think, when we give students the opportunity to figure out what they want rather than what they think they want, that really creates an excitement about what's possible in the future.
And then we got to just figure out what is the base learning that kids are doing second, third, fourth grade? Because I don't think math should go anywhere for the most part, except for junior year math. That stuff starts to get really complicated. But outside of that, because one of the things that I talk about every day with these kids is I tell them that you're trying to solve problems.
Yeah.
And those problems over there on Khan Academy or some of their math lessons, those are not dangerous problems. If you get the problem wrong, nothing bad happens to you. But in here, as a grown man, when I fail my problems, bad things happen, and that's a scary part. There's no safety net,
Yeah, man, you said dangerous math or dangerous problems. I like that idea as how there needs to be safe challenges, right? as they learn their skills. But there does need to be stakes in what we're doing, because that is life, right? And too often, I think there's no stakes for the challenges that we're presenting, and it creates a kind of laissez-faire approach.
I think that's what I like about project-based learning is that every time I do project-based learning, there's always some presentation of learning at the end. And very quickly, with the first project of the school year, kids notice, oh, dang, I'm the only kid without my project done, and everyone else has these amazing projects, and I just kind of feel left out. I feel like a fool, and then it never happens again. Where then, oh, wow, everybody did the second project. That's pretty cool. So for me, those were the stakes, right?
Yeah, I like that. And I've heard also from people, I work with Project Lead the Way a bit on different projects, and they have partnered with employers and industries that they will come to a group of students, high school students, middle school, and say, here's this real problem that we have, and we want your help solving it. And so the kids are like, oh my gosh, if we actually figure this out, or if we come up with something, it will make a difference. It's not just I filled it out on a piece of paper and I got it right, but I've now either made somebody's job easier, or whatever it might be, whatever the outcome is, it's real. And that is another great way that this bridge can be closed, and helping find those opportunities for the real world learning. I think it'd be cool.
Is there a person or an organization that is doing a really outstanding job trying to bridge that gap that often doesn't get highlighted?
I mentioned them before, and I talk about them quite a bit. But Anderson Hauser, they're down on the south side of Indy, down in like Perry Township. They do these community events. They built a whole space as like a lab for local students to come in.
That's
and
cool.
Do 3D printing or do robotics. So they're bringing in students in elementary, and then they're having employees go out to the schools in middle school and talk to them about what they're doing, and then in high school, bringing them in for internships or whatever else, apprenticeships. So they've worked with their community from third grade, and introduced themselves to students, the students to the space. And so by the time they get to high school, they're like, oh yeah, there's that place just down the street that I know the people that work there. I know what the job is. I know what kind of pay. They get it. It's not a mystery by the time they get there. And so they take care of their people. They'll identify these people in high school, and they'll say, okay, we're going to pay for college. You can work here while you're going to college. When you graduate, you have a job. So it's just
it's almost like company towns kind of back in the day. I'm from up near Gary. The history of company towns.
Right. No, it is very similar, but it's been adapted to a new generation that what makes sense for them.
Dang.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, pretty cool.
It's hard to bridge the gap and talk about how archaic our system is, because I feel like if we do the hard work now and we rebuild the education system, something else is going to come along in 5 years. Like Ryan, I grew up before the internet. I grew up before cell phones. I grew up before iPads.
Yeah.
I grew up before AI. It's like I am an ancient human being at 37 years old. What's going to happen next? Where oh, you guys used to have tables. You guys used to sit down and work on a table. What are tables? We don't even have those anymore.
Well,
we do stuff on air.
The next thing's here, right? I mean, AI is the next thing, and it's now, but it's the next thing. I just read an article about the AI musician. I don't know her name, but she's like climbing up the spot. Have you guys heard about this?
Oh,
the
man.
AI musician. It's like
I've heard lots of different
I don't know.
things.
Okay.
They're making so many different AIs. I can't even keep up.
Yeah, so there's this R&B musician that's AI generated. Her image is AI generated. Her music's AI generated.
That's interesting.
And she's like climbing the Spotify ranks. So, I mean, that just is another example of how AI isn't even close to done changing how we do things.
As a television writer, a former television writer, I found AI still can't do that yet.
Right.
If you watch the Seinfeld AI one, it's terrible.
I know people phasing in and out of walls and things.
But that was like, a year and a half ago, so
Right.
it's probably amazing
It's
now.
probably
so
perfect
we'll
now.
see what happens.
Mhm. Yeah.
Man, is there any other parting wisdom that you have for the kids?
Gosh.
Because I
don't know.
think what I loved about the tie-in project is it was so special, and now what's going to take its place? You know, what projects are you trying to work on next?
Well, I mean, tie-in as a state-funded project is done. We are very much in the works of trying to figure out what that next step in tie-in is. So the next thing we're kind of putting together is some networking events that'll happen at the Pyramids, where our office is. And
the Pyramids?
Yeah. So up on the northwest side, the 3 big pyramids off of Michigan. We're in the middle pyramid. It's super cool. But so some networking events where, again, we're providing that space for that collision of education and industry. So at first, I think we're going to reach out to people who have participated in tie-in, our educators that have participated, and then bringing in some employers and really having some relaxed time to just figure out how do we do this, you know, and then we're going to work with some counties, some districts specific to, say, I think Hendricks is probably our next county that we're really focused on.
Okay.
So districts like Mill Creek, Plainfield, Danville, and others to say, let's focus on employers in your space. Let's focus on educators just here, and let's build this up. So that's where tie-in's going. I'm also now deep into the AI world.
That's cool.
Working with a lot of districts around the state on how to integrate AI, how to prepare our students for jobs that are now going to have AI infused into all of it.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's really where I'm focused. I mean, I don't know. Being out of the classroom, it does provide a whole different perspective on education, especially in Indiana.
You learn about how many more opportunities are actually out there that would make your classroom a much better place if you could just get the time to get away from your classroom.
100%. And that's so complicated too, right? Subs are at a premium. I was talking to a district about doing some AI training, and they said, well, can you just record it for us and send it so that my teachers can watch it, you know, like on their own time? I said, I guess so, right? But that's finding the time and the money, man. If anyone has a money tree, we're all coming to you.
I can get out of this building because I'm technically not like an in-classroom teacher. We're advisors, we're coaches, we do all these things. But man, tie-in was the miracle, because how many teachers never get to leave the classroom for any reason whatsoever and can't go to things, and tie-in was something that they can leave and spend the day doing something really amazing and have it impact their kids. Yeah,
the feedback was wonderful, and I think the more we talk about what it accomplished and what our educators took away from it, my hope is that we might see industry partners come on board and say, hey, we can help make this happen.
Yeah.
I know there's a few out there already that are like, hey, let's talk more about that. So we'll see. I'm hopeful that it continues in the shape and form that it was in, with some modifications, right? Because we learned how to do things better. But I think that structure was really good, and I'm hopeful.
It's also, did you ever work with the Startup Foundation and
Don
Lettrick?
Yeah.
One thing that he says is that what Don says is that nobody knows more people than teachers. And so being able to build the alumni network and connect with all these former students, that's a really good idea to bring people in Indianapolis together to just collaborate on things and get in the same room.
Yeah. We have worked a bit with Started Up and Don and that whole team, but and like I mentioned, Project Lead the Way is also a really good connection for us, and seeing, you know, the connections that are out there and who knows who. So there are so many good networks that
trying to do the same thing.
That are trying to do the same thing, that, you know, if we could connect our educators with those people more and more. I know you've done work with Don and them, and a lot of other of our tie-in teachers worked with Started Up or
that's cool.
Something similar.
Yeah.
It was really transformative. It changes the way you approach education, and that's important.
Man, is there anything you want to say to anybody listening? I know I want to say, if there's companies that want to offer my kids internships, please give my students some internships.
Yeah, I would love to connect with anyone that is interested in this work and in this space. I think we do more together than by ourselves.
Yeah, so, I've learned that.
Yeah, if there's employers that are wanting to, make these connections, if there are schools, districts, administrators that understand that this is important and want to find ways to get their teachers out into the world, let me know.
You need more schools or more employers or both?
Both.
Okay.
Both, yeah. Honestly, we the interest is there. It's just we need people to commit the time and the resources.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we got them all. Just we all got to get in the same room like an
Right.
indie vault.
Yeah, that's cool. I wish I would have known about that one.
Man. Well, thank you so much for coming in, Ryan. Man, it was great to talk to you.
Yeah, this was awesome. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Genius Hour, brought to you by the Purdue Polytechnic Lab, a small place with big opportunities for growth.